Shema Yashra. Aheya ala Yanawa Aheya Akkad Shabbat Shalom Barak Athah. Welcome to Word War 3. Our reference today will be Isaiah 62, verse 11. Today's reading will be the social construct of white people. Now, here's some buildings to consider. The U.S. Capitol, which is the home of the U.S. Congress, is an ancient Roman Capitoline hill, or is also known as Mons Saturnius. Is dedicated to the Roman god Saturn, where we get the word Saturday today, or Saturn's day. It is the same god Kronia, or Coronos, of the Greeks. The statue called Freedom, Triumph, and War and Peace, or the Roman Lady Liberty goddess, sits above the United States Capitol building. The Supreme Court building for the Supreme Court justices is also a temple of justice. That's what it's called. The goddess Eleutheria in the Greek is the same goddess liberty for the Romans, or the Roman Lady Liberty. The Lincoln Memorial Building is a Greek Pantheon style temple or shrine dedicated to Abraham Lincoln. Is a symbol of freedom, going back to Lady Liberty. The Virginia state capital, the House of Burgesses, is the first seat of British colonial government. Again, it's a Greek temple or shrine. Now let's go across the waters, across the Atlantic, to Mohammed bin Abdullah al-Khattab, who was a Turkish Arabic Sultan of Morocco. He stopped the Barbary pirates, the people who were called Barbary pirates, from preventing European transactions, European transnational actions in the waters of the Atlantic and Mediterranean. He stopped them. Remember that. The first nation to recognize the United States by contract treaty. The dress and the wear of Barbary Moors are fully described in the Bible. Diadems and all. Look up the Moorish kings of Europe and see for yourselves this revelation unfold. Not too many people talk about this. Let's keep going. The Treaty of Tripoli, written by the Sultanate of Turks, not Berbers, stopped the Berber powers from preventing European transnational acts. Transnational acts. Modern historians will tell you these were treaties with the ethnic Berbers. But again, if the ethnic Berbers made treaties, they wouldn't stop their own power. All these treaties destroyed the power of ethnic Berbers who had old world trade routes going into the new world. Article 11 of the English language United States version, which states that the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion. It's not a Christian government, but it's ran by Christians. Here, signed by the second president, John Adams. The second president, John Adams. Who is their God, we ask? Well, of course, it's Lady Liberty of the Greco-Romans. And what does a jealous God talk about Hebrew Israelites worshiping or having treaty with other gods? Please remember this, you Hebrews out there, and all you other folks who are listening in. Listen up. The Negro Law of South Carolina, 1848, confirms the divisions of Moors, which are generalized as an ethno-religion of other nations, versus the descendants of the ancient Berbers. And here they say in section 4 of this Negro Law of South Carolina, 1848, section 4, the term Negro is confined to slave Africans. It is saying that they are the ancient Berbers and their descendants. So again, this is going back to the Berbers, who are called pirates in those treaties. In those treaties. One thing that holds significance is the Legal Tender Act, February 25th, 1862, when you Negroes, Berber descendants, were enslaved. It is dead. This Legal Tender Act was dedicated to the Roman lady Liberty Goddess. Fiat currency called greenbacks at that time. What you know today as dollar bills. Again, it was dedicated to Lady Liberty, the Roman goddess. Many United States presidents and statesmen, uh, W. Bush being one of the last to actually have a holding on that. Of course, Barack Obama, the first black president, and other statesmen have brought up this remembrance of this treaty. Again, many United States presidents and statesmen have reminded us of this long, unbroken treaty between the two nations in the name of Almighty God. Again, you have Almighty God, and then you have the several other gods, which is in the Bible, is described in the Bible. So you have the Almighty God, which is the almighty power over everything, and then you have other gods. What gods are they talking about? Here, this treaty is in the name of the Almighty God, a treaty of peace and friendship. Also, a treaty of amity and commerce exists between the Mohammedan Arabs, whose Almighty God is Allah, aka a numerical or a numerology Satan, which we Hebrew Israelites know now, and the good Christians, Lady Liberty, aka white privilege. Now, if you call yourself white, again, this is not racist content. This is status. So this is not going along the lines of race, but properly identifying for the Hebrew Israelites to know what they're in, asking for integration and, things of that nature. Directive 5 of the Office of Management and Budget is a classification method to determine status by race. So again, it's status. Even to this day, the status for white is held supreme. Mustafa Hifni, a Negro Egyptian, fell victim to this confusion in the 1980s. Look this guy up. Takuchi Yamashita. Remember his name as well. He gained the assimilation portion of privilege, but never attained the racial qualities to maintain it. He was denied the practice of law in the state of Washington, and later all his businesses confiscated. Takuji Yamashita versus Hinkle, 260 U.S. 199, meaning 260 U.S. Supreme Court case 199, was determined by Chief Justice William Howard Taft, who is also a former 27th president of the United States. Now, not only a president, but a Chief Justice, William Howard Taft. I mean, this guy knows what status is. He should know what status is. Unquestionable. Yamashita argued racial classification, which is, Negro exclusion, of course, which didn't specifically mention Japanese people. The United States Supreme Court affirmed the Supreme Court of Washington's holding that it was permissible to ban ownership of property by Asians. Remember that. This is a case, and it hasn't been unturned. Takao Ozawa versus the United States, 260 U.S. 178. And this was in 1922. United States Supreme Court holding Ozawa was racially ineligible for citizenship as he did not qualify as being belonging to the Caucasian race. Again, status. They are properly identifying people by status and race. The Asians today are practicing Lady Liberty worship in Tiananmen Square in China. They have learned from the communist principles of Greco-Roman democracy to do that. They're taking Greco-Roman gods into their communist China and upholding the Lady Liberty, a Roman god, a Greco-Roman god. I'll put the links in below. This here is one of the many instances that Esau has spread confusion around the planet. And again, we're trying to open our eyes from all the confusion that has happened. And here, the final note: Indigenous Hebrew Israelite Awakening, again, is not a racist religious group. We simply live here. The integration policy of governance means one must take the ideology of another nation, making use of their gods, their privileges, and all authorized transactions pertaining to a national law system. We're not here to argue the ethnicity of Europeans, but the status culture mask, such as color of law, which presents itself as a naturally wild beast. That's why we're here. The significance of this understanding is to clarify for the Hebrew Israelites. Such daughters of Zion, those Israelites, are fully described in the untranslated Lashawan Kodash, the Lashwadan Kodash, and world history of our ancestors, what we actually do, what we've done in the past, and what we're still doing today. For the well-studied Hebrew, note Ahola, which is the Americas, the elder, and Aholiba, the enslaved Negro of Africa, the younger, as prophesied in Ezekiel 23, as prophesied. All these things are happening. They've been happening and they're happening today. And until you people wake up, you Native Americans, you Negroes, you Latinos, and your mulatto children, y'all need to wake up. Y'all need to wake up. All of these things rule out the fake Abrahamic faiths. By doing so, know that your salvation is promised to you unto the end of the world. See Isaiah chapter 62, verse 11. Your salvation, again, is promised to you even unto the end of the world. This is from the mouth of the Almighty God. Integration is a failure system for the Hebrew Israelite culture, something Christianity does not teach. One more time so that y'all know that this is clear. Indigenous Hebrew Israelite Awakening is not a racist hate group. We're here to wake up our people so that we know that what our gods have pertaining to us, what our ancestors told us what would happen. That's what this is all about. Now, to develop a hate for another race has never been a Hebrew Israelite tradition. It's never been. So we won't play the racist card here, like some of those confused Hebrew Israelite camps are doing today. We won't play that. I am a Hebrew Israelite. I am a conscientious objector. and a minister of peace. And I want my brother and sister Hebrew Israelites to wake up from the madness that the government function still has them in today. Hebrew Israelite out.